d'être venu, c'est un plaisir d'être ici. I would like tonight to read short samples of 3 different works. Start out with one that plays with prepositions and conjunctions, and which Pascal has translated. And then a short interlude in prose, just in English, and then we'll get to La route est partout, the newly translated book.
Donc un peu de ça, après des proses et après un peu de ça.
So, positions, pre and con, or positions and junctions. Of bodies, of various sizes, of vibrations, of blue excite, of never except in his early in childhood has he touched, of the space of, between of, to allow of for impact. Now of that color has slowed its pitch, or of skin, of but light, no deep foundation, nor of leans into the blue.
De corps de différentes tailles, de vibrations, de bleu, suscite de jamais excepté dans sa petite, dans son enfance n'a-t-il touché, de l'espace de entre deux pour tenir compte de l'impact, mais de cette couleur abaisser le ton ou de sa peau, sans lumière, pas de fondation profonde ou qui ne s'appuie dans le bleu.
And possibly color is divided into the octave. Gradations of, into love, into impalpable, in spite of into careful attention, into leaves blown, into autumn blown, into tension, into between, growing into and into ungrowing, desire into and into.
Et la couleur peut être divisée en octaves, en degrés de l'amour, en impalpable, en dépit de la soucieuse attention en feuilles emportées en automne, emportées en tension en entre, désir en et, en grandissant en et, en ne grandissant pas.
If a bird, if up into the air, if cold, if we must, if adhere, if a road, if renamed by, if each, if traveling, more than one set, if of darkness, no angel, no enunciation. Deeper yet, if the singer's voice, if born, if by grief, as if a bird, if on wings.
Si un oiseau si haut dans l'air, si froid, si nous devons s'y adhérer, si une route si rebaptisée par si chaque trajet, plus d'une chute, si de l'obscurité, ni ange, ni annonciation, plus profonde encore, si la voix du chanteur, si porté si par la douleur, comme si un oiseau si par ses ailes.
Vibrations that beat and dash at the eye, at here, eclipse at, moved at feverish, at no matter, at how much we, at no matter how, at love, we never enough.
Vibrations qui secouent et montent aux yeux, adhèrent, éclipse à changer, en fièvre, à peu importe à combien nous, à peu importe combien nous aimons jamais assez.
But to scream, but our lungs are but made for, now but is night, no doubt wrong, but let's but suppose that a but sour wine can yet, and a man's been but a machine, but can still, but the approaching chill, but prevents.
M'écrier, mais nos poumons sont faits, mais pour. Mais il fait nuit, sans doute faux, mais supposons, mais qu'un vin, mais aigre, peut encore qu'un homme a été une machine, mais peut toujours, mais le froid qui approche, mais protège.
And now I would like to read from a series of prose poems from my most recent book called Driven to Abstraction.
Seulement en anglais.
Seulement en anglais, oui. The sequence is called Time Ravel. With the mind's eye, we see against the light, the way we see the dead, my father, reading at his desk. Read, road, door. Remains unclear how my brain chose to store this image rather than another, or how it veers toward the surface. Ulysses fights his way back to an Ithaca with 4-lane highways, where serfdom has been replaced by alienation, anomie, anxiety. Returns, reverts, replies. A borrowed book, the sword to its scabbard, in recompense, response. The assumption is that the sirens have drowned in the alphabet and been replaced by warnings, war, warp. My father stopped reading to watch a magpie rising black and white against the sky. Memories are many, glitter in the brain, ready to be pilfered. Does this fit my image of the real, where the norms of social interaction have multiplied and spontaneous acts come back as mistakes? Or combustion? Natural feeling, temperament, disposition, impulse, energy, all lashed fast to the mast. The rubrics of the dictionary mean business. Columbus' crew were afraid they would not come back, unable to close the loop time won't permit, but sometimes a ghost or shifting winds. Or the memory of a big slab of ice that a man with leather mittens splits across the middle to reveal the time hidden within where I might not find my body for the cold. And so my mother wraps the slab in a rag before putting it in the icebox. It would not warm me enough to have a self. Same, identical, interest, confidence, esteem, reliance, respect. Skin, so it takes pains to remember caresses, is marked by the roads that pain takes. I can't hear my father's voice, moored as if among antipodes, articulation hindered by head hanging down and a spill of ocean. Spell, sperm, spatter, splash. If the mechanisms of subjectivity are disturbed, it requires total restructuring of the world. As when I first learned that the earth turns on its axis, that spleen, noun, is a highly vascular ductless gland which serves to produce certain changes in the blood. Merriment, obsolete. Caprice, spite, anger, malice, moroseness, melancholy. Most marked in complex civilizations, where the pace of events and cordless voices exceeds all the running one can do just to stay in one place. So silver, on clear days, is the light. Names multiplied in the wake of caravels, clippers, communicating vessels. The spelling capricious, see spleen, as the winds. Track itineraries, track vanished and erased, track how many pages between Circe's island and Charybdis. It is not that our sensations need to match images in the brain, but that the brain needs a body for frame of reference. No matter if it be square or cant, short, squat, parts fitted together to enclose a window, door, picture, or disposition of the mind. Just as emotion shows if we are ready for the future, hovering at the edge of our eye. Great beginnings too can end up a small world. Quarrel, old. Set sail on the power of imagination for hearsay geographies and real dangers, with greed as secret motor. It drove them back home to cities crazy for spices and gold. In between, waves and more waves. When I think of my mother, I am heavy in the pelvis with the children she wanted and begin to sing. a complex song of if and so, I never had a voice. To introduce an exclamation, condition, stipulation, untenable argument, or wish, on condition, in the event that, allowing that these long-term memories are abstractions, a different mode of thought from short-term ones, and that their differences shape my sense of time. A violet's blue as a sign of distance. And now we'll read a few from The Road is Everywhere, or La Route est Partout, translated by Abigail, and Pascal has kindly agreed to read the French. So this came out of a year of commuting there. I was sitting too much in a car and began to feel like a centaur, except a car rather than a horse underneath. Okay. So the road is everywhere. Exaggeration of a curve exchanges time and again beside you in the car, pieces the road together with night moisture. The force of would-be sleep beats through our bodies, denied their liquid depths, toward the always dangerous next dawn bleeds its sequence of ready silence.
Exagération d'une courbe, échange de temps en temps à tes côtés dans la voiture, assemble la route avec la moiteur de la nuit, la force du sommeil latent palpite dans nos corps, privés de leur profondeur liquide, car la prochaine est toujours dangereuse, aube saigne sa séquence de signaux exprès.
A question of no. Just a cigarette phrase, analogies out of too frequent a departure, leaves only an ash of memory itches for words in my mouth won't be born into transparency no longer open before me, accelerates into solid illusion. So I try to shift or at least talk. The road comes back to the surface. In spite of the cigarette, licks my lips, two horns, and a field blown with wildflowers withdraw. Gesture? I don't like the car herds move through our caves, and the life I thought mine passes by an inch the extreme tips of my expectations.
Une question de non. Une simple cigarette effiloche des analogies tirées d'un départ trop fréquent, ne laisse qu'une cendre de mémoire que démangent les mots dans ma bouche ne naîtront pas à la transparence désormais close devant moi, s'accélère en une illusion solide, alors je tente de changer de vitesse ou au moins de parler, la route refait surface, malgré la cigarette, lèche mes lèvres, deux flacons, deux klaxons, et un champ couvert de fleurs sauvages se retire. Un signe, je n'aime pas les voitures en troupeau se meuvent dans nos cavernes, et la vie que je pensais mienne passe d'1 millimètre, la pointe extrême de mes attentes.
Part of the fun of this writing this book was that I put all sorts of road signs in. Oops, that can't wait. Smell of fresh glass. Sorry. Smell of fresh grass sails through the years, harden between you and your language. Shields, you thought, against time's arrow, pierces the lungs of some giant faceless beast with missing eyes beyond the range of pronouns, snare us centaurs, half car, half man, and what you took for granted rises from the wrong end of a sentence, and from then on it's detour after detour through the slum of possibles.
Odeur flottante d'herbes fraîches traverse les années, durcissent entre toi et ta langue part, pensais-tu, aux flèches du temps perce les poumons de quelques bêtes géantes sans visage aux yeux, manquant au-delà de la portée des pronoms, nous piège, centaure, mi-voiture, mi-homme, et ce que tu tenais pour acquis surgit du mauvais bout d'une phrase, et désormais c'est déviation sur déviation à travers le taudis des possibles.
And so we think we might reduce speed and arrive in a summer day glittering with sun, and a turn of thought puts us beside a quick shimmer of pale hair against the light, blinds fragments into landscape, our poor sense of it. Warm sound of pissing breaks the thick leaves day gags on, the massive cloud banks now, you kiss the words, cover my mouth, buried in feeling your hands like uncertain vegetation.
Et ainsi nous pensons pouvoir ralentir et arriver dans un jour d'été incertain de soleil, et un virage de la pensée nous place à côté d'un bref miroitement de cheveux pâles sur le contre-jour, dans le contre-jour aveugle des fragments en paysage, la pauvre perception que nous en avons, le bruit chaud de la pisse rompt les épaisses feuilles, la journée s'étrangle sur les massifs blancs de nuages. Maintenant tu embrasses les mots, couvre ma bouche, ensevelie dans la sensation de tes mains comme une végétation hésitante.
And the last one. The signs, of course I want this sequence. Exit won't get me out. I participate in spite of me. If I look back, there's no trace of my passage, no improbable footprint or tire mark. Sitting in my own obstacle, eyes open on the constant disappearing, translating one measurement into another.
Les signaux, bien sûr, à cette séquence, je cherche sortie, ne me tirera pas de là, je participe malgré moi. Si je regarde en arrière, il n'y a aucune trace de mon passage, aucune improbable empreinte de pas ou trace de pneus, assise dans mon propre obstacle, les yeux ouverts sur la constante disparition, traduisant d'un système métrique à un autre.
Merci. By the way, le livre